the soul who understands the scars and made me who I am. Through the drifting sands of time, I got your back and you got mine.
Hello everyone and welcome to my latest movie review, where today I review the latest film from the people at Pixar Animation Studios, Onward. This movie is directed by Dan Scanlon, who directed the Pixar prequel Monsters University 7 years ago. The plot of this film is as follows. Set in a suburban fantasy world, two teenage elf brothers embark on a quest to discover if there is still magic out there. So just adding to that little description, the brothers have found an old staff and a gemstone that brings back their dad, although it only brings back his legs, so they have to go and find the other gemstone to bring back the rest of their dad. And that's basically what it's about. This is the first of two offerings from Pixar this year. Later on this year we are getting the film called Soul, which looks interesting. So, Onward. How is this film? Is it another Pixar masterpiece? No, I don't mean that negatively. This movie is good. Okay, it's a good film. I think it's enjoyable, but it's not perfect. It's not the best film that Pixar have ever made by any stretch of the imagination. However, I think Onward is pretty good fun. I really like the relationship between the two brothers, Ian and Barley, voiced by Tom Holland and Chris Pratt, actually, funnily enough. They've not only done Marvel together, now they've done this, which is great. I think that it's great to see their relationship kind of unfold, and obviously there is a lot of tension between the two brothers, yet things do end up working out in the end. I mean, the kind of traditional brothers story, how they don't always get on at first. One of them thinks the other one is a screw-up, and then etc, etc. You can kind of predict how the relationship will turn out. The fact is, in the story, Ian, the younger brother, has never known his dad. Barley, the older brother, has known his dad briefly. He's had a few memories, but not much. And the film is about them letting go of their dad. I will say the kind of emotional arc of the film, and Pixar are known for their emotional stuff. The emotional side of the film didn't really blow me away as such. It was fine and it was nice and I appreciated what the film was trying to do, but it didn't hit me really in the feels. I guess it's because I can't relate to it because I have a dad and I've always known my dad, so maybe that's the reason. I just felt that Pixar could have pushed the emotion even further. There is a lovely scene later on in this film where Ian is he's had a fight with his brother and he's sitting down with the legs of his dad. It sounds a bit weird. And he's made a list about things that he wants to do with his dad before time runs out, because they only have 24 hours basically with their dad if he was to come back. He looks at the list and he realises that he's actually done all those things with his brother. That was a lovely, poignant moment. That was the most poignant scene in the film. I'm not saying that Pixar have to make us cry every single film, but this is more of a fun adventure film. I think the more fun adventure side of the film takes over the film, and I don't think the emotional stuff is first. The emotional stuff is second to the fun adventure aspect of the film, which I don't know if it's necessarily a criticism, but it's just something that I felt could have been paid more attention to. I felt that Pixar could have treated the film with as much emotional levity as their previous films. That being said, Onward is a fun movie. It is a really fun fantasy adventure, and I think kids will really like it. And I do like the idea of that there was once a lot of magic in the world and then technology overtook it, which I think is interesting. Onward would feature somewhere in the Pixar theory. I think the film's funny. I think there are some good funny moments. There are these little pixie characters that are like these road bikers, which was quite an amusing idea. They've got really high-pitched voices and they're all pink, but yet they dress like punks and they all drive motorbikes. It's a little crazy, a little zany, but it is quite funny actually. I thought that was quite amusing. For me, the character of the Manticore was really annoying. I didn't like that character. She didn't really serve much of a purpose in the story. They just go to her tavern to find this map which will lead to the gemstone, and then she just tags along with the mother to go and find the boys. Like, why? I mean, she tried to stop them getting the map. What? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It just felt like they forced her character into the rest of the film. She should have just been in that one scene in the tavern, and the mum should have just gone on her own. The Manticore should have just said to the mum, look, go to this store, get the sword, and good luck finding your boys. The Manticore, like, yeah, she just tags along. There's no reason for her to tag along, in my opinion. It was just, I feel like they were forcing her in because she was a comedic character. I didn't find her particularly funny, to be honest. I found her over the top and just almost just too much. It was out of place. I mean, the kids won't care who are going to see this film, but from a personal point of view, that could have been handled a bit differently. I do like Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Laurel, who is the mum of the two boys, and how she goes on the quest to find them. They gave her quite a substantial more amount to do than I expected. I only expected her to be in the film for a few scenes, but she's actually in it throughout, and she contributes in the in the finale of the film, which is great. But the fact that there's no villain of the film, that doesn't really bother me that much, but in the end, the final fight is very, you know, Lord of the Rings, like it's very, like there's a big giant dragon that they have to fight. That sequence to me was good. It was fun. It wasn't the most impressive thing because it's wrapped up very quickly. So I found that sequence to be kind of fun, and then it was over in the next 2 minutes. So oh right, a character called Colt Bronco, who is a centaur policeman, and he's actually the boyfriend of Laurel, the mum. I don't really understand why he was in the movie. I mean, okay, yeah, they needed to show that the mother had moved on from the death of the father, but he was just kind of again, he was an annoying character, and he didn't really do anything in the film. There's actually quite a funny scene where the two boys impersonate him, and they use this spell to disguise themselves as him when they're talking to two other police women, which is quite amusing. What I will say though is that Onward is way better than Monsters University. Monsters University was a very disappointing Pixar film, and Dan Scanlon's direction has much improved here. I really think it has. The soundtrack for the film is pretty good as well. I don't know who composes it, but it's a good score. It's not Michael Giacchino actually for once. Michael Giacchino takes a break from Pixar, which I think is well warranted. I can't talk about a Pixar film without talking about animation, because the animation of this film is stunning. It will forever be stunning, and you know, Pixar have mastered animation now. I mean, look at the first Toy Story movie and look at Onward. Look how far the animation has come. The attention to detail, even in like the hair of Ian. You know, he's got curly hair and whatnot, and you know, it's great. It really is great. The performances are very good. I think Tom Holland and Chris Pratt are both very good lead characters in this film, and again, I like their relationship between, you know, as brothers. And Tom Holland is definitely the standout performance of the film. I just felt like this film kind of lacked an element of surprise in terms of emotionally. The emotional arc of the film was kind of, you know, something we'd seen before, and I kind of wish that Pixar had surprised us a bit more with that and hit us a bit more. You know, by the end of the film you go, oh okay, that was lovely, I see what they did there. But you don't come away crying, or you don't come away going, it's not like Inside Out level deep. It's not like that film. It didn't hit me like that. But I appreciated that the film did have a heart, and it did have a central arc, which is more than can be said for most animated films, but still, this is Pixar, man. So overall, I don't have a lot more to say about Onward. I am going to finish up by scoring Onward an 8 out of 10. There we go, that is my review of Onward. Stay tuned for more movie reviews. And before you ask, I will be re-ranking the Pixar movies, but I'm not going to do that until I have seen Soul, which is the next film. And then I have to add in 3 more films. So I think every 3 Pixar films I'll update the ranking. Otherwise it's just completely monotonous, because the list will only change so much. So anyway, thank you guys all for watching, and as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya.